Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking it out if you're new. If you're at all familiar with this channel, you know that I'm a big nerd, especially for superheroes. You know, we love the X-Men, as well as Batman, Superman, and all sorts of Marvel heroes and DC heroes. So today I thought it would be fun to rank all of the currently existing Disney Plus TV shows. Agatha All Along just ended. I watched the entire show with Phil with 1L, and he's got that reaction series up on his channel. Go check that out there. Link in the description slash I think it's up here if I remember correctly. So today, at the time of this recording, the shows that are out so far are the ones you see on screen. So I just thought it would be fun to look back on and check out how Disney Plus and the MCU have been working out so far. Because we have a ton of projects coming in 2025 that I am excited about. Like, I am excited about Ironheart and Daredevil. Like, Daredevil has to be good, right? So let's check out what the MCU has looked like on Disney Plus over the last 5 years that the streaming service has existed. Starting off, I think I'm just going to go in. These are currently in release order down here at the bottom, and I think I'm just going to go in release order. Maybe when I'm talking about the season 2s of shows like Loki and What If, I will just jump over to their sequel series, but we'll see. Starting off strong with WandaVision, I don't think it's going to surprise anyone that I'm going to put this up here in S, because I think this is one of, if not the best. Like, I really think Marvel came out swinging strong. I think the production design was here for this show. The writing is great. It's not a 6-episode event. It does get 9 episodes to flesh out the story it's trying to tell. And granted, as everybody else has already said, the finale gets a little messy because of COVID, and there were talks of it was supposed to be 10 episodes, but they had to cut it down to 9 because of COVID, and Jack Schaefer wanted to use certain characters, and she wasn't allowed to. But overall, I do think the show comes together. It's really fun. It's charming. Like, who would have thought if you told someone this is a sitcom where Vision and Wanda live throughout different periods of television? You'd say, why would I want to watch that? But it's actually been one of the most compelling TV shows of the MCU. And following that is Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I might be in the minority here. I actually do really like Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like, I know that it's not great, and similar to WandaVision, falls apart in the finale. These Disney Plus shows really struggle in the finales. But Falcon and Winter Soldier is essentially a setup story to get Sam Wilson to the point in which he becomes Captain America. And I think Sam and Bucky do have great banter with each other. Like, I think the characters are what make this show. Like, you're not necessarily here for the story. You're here to watch Sam and Bucky and how they bounce off each other. And I think U.S. Agent John Walker is a good antagonist for the show. But again, in that finale, it kind of falls apart when they try to redeem him and like, oh, he's not such a bad guy. When he was kind of an asshole the whole show and then just decided to be nice. Also, the Flag Smashers are terrible villains. Like, again, trying to do the thing of Marvel is, or at least was, we'll see as we continue down this list, but Marvel is scared to make their villains bad people. Like the Flag Smashers, of course, we have to make them sympathetic by the end because, you know, you had to feel bad for Carly and the Flag Smashers, but not too bad because we do have them burn a building full of innocent people just to make sure you know there's a bad guy. And so the show does struggle by almost not having a villain, in that the Flag Smashers aren't that much of a threat, and then they just kind of are done. So, like I said, maybe it's just that early MC, this was only the second show, so maybe it's that glaze of, I'm just like, oh, this is so good because this was the first one right after WandaVision. And then we have Loki season 1. And I think Loki season 1 is back and forth on either S or A for me. We'll put it in S simply because where we're gonna put season 2. Some not so subtle foreshadowing there. But I think Loki season 1 is really good. I think it sets up a lot of mysteries and threads that, frankly, season 2 drops and does nothing with, unfortunately. But that season 1, establishing the TVA and having Loki, because we also, this is another one of those where they proved us wrong. You told us we're making a show about the Loki from Avengers Endgame that got dropped off, that they messed up his timeline. And you're like, what? Who cares about that Loki? They basically give this Loki the MCU and fast forward. So then he is like aware enough so that he is at a point where we can actually develop and grow his character. And he starts out the series as like a little shit. Like he is messing with Mobius in the TVA. But then he sort of starts to maybe buy into it. And then his relationship with Sylvie is interesting. I know people go back and forth on it because they're, variants of each other, but I do think their relationship is nice up until the finale. Like, broken record, everybody's told you by now that the Loki season 1 finale is so mixed. I actually really like it, how it sets up Kang and He Who Remains, even though now, because of all of the outside conflict in the real world with that actor and the character, we're shifting away from Kang. So again, kind of something that we set up and now we're dropping it. We're leaving. Goodbye. And so, yeah, what a mess. But Loki season 1 actually is an intriguing mystery as we learn about the TVA and how all of this works. What If season 2? I think we can take What If season 2 and put it right here in B tier, right in the middle. I think that's a comfortable spot for it. So What If, see, my problem with What If is I think it's so restricted because it's set in the MCU. You see, in the comic books, What If is, as the show and name implies, what if anything happened? It explores crazy what if scenarios. What if T'Challa became Iron Man? Or what if Black Panther never joined the Avengers? Things like that. I don't know why I'm using T'Challa for both examples, but you get it. It's supposed to be crazy, weird scenarios that would never happen in the main universe. And so I think What If is kind of stalled out because they're all what if scenarios of the MCU. Like they are, what if all the Avengers died? What if Peggy Carter was Captain America instead? And what if T'Challa was Star-Lord instead? And what if Ultron won? And things like that. Granted, the What If Ultron won is one of the best episodes of the show. But I feel like it's so limited by the MCU. And the fact that they have to connect it all, like, I'm not gonna lie, the finale is cool to watch them all fight Infinity Ultron. But at the same time, why did we feel the need to connect? Like, this should be an anthology where every episode we touch on a universe and then we move on. So the fact that both seasons, I'll get to season 2 later, but the fact that both seasons feel the need to connect all of these stories together feels kind of silly. All right, now this one I know is probably going to be questionable for a lot of people. But I really like Hawkeye. I really do think it's a fun show. I'm gonna put it in A for now. And we can mess around and move these around later at the end. But I think Hawkeye is super fun. Like, it is just the story of Clint teaching Kate Bishop how to do this. Yes, it's not the huge, like, world-spanning story of the Matt Fraction comic book that it steals all of its artwork and inspiration from. But I do think it's fun. And this is one of the ones where maybe the finale actually kind of works for this show. Because We have the showdown with Kingpin, which I get where people say, oh, he's way too cartoony. But I think it's okay to let him be cartoony in Hawkeye, because then he's scary in Echo and Daredevil. And ultimately, this Hawkeye show is a lighthearted Christmas show. Should all of these shows be 6 episodes? No. But I think Hawkeye works for the small little Christmas event that it is. I am curious because there's the constant talks of like, oh, well, this one they might actually make a season 2 of. And I'd be curious to see where a second season would go. Like, I guess you would just expand more on Kate's role as Hawkeye and Clint as a mentor, if he's even in the second season of the show. Like, I will admit, some of the mysteries in the show fall flat. Yelena's inclusion in the show feels really good. After the Black Widow movie had just came out, it feels nice to see her now in this show hunting down Clint, thinking he had something to do with Natasha's death. And Kate and Yelena's relationship in the show is also very funny. And the show does an okay job setting up Maya and Kingpin for eventually when they show back up in Echo. But yeah, like I said, I think most people would probably put Hawkeye like down here in B or C, but I really like it. I'm putting it up in A. I want to put it in S, but I don't think it's on the level of these two. Like, these two are truly something else. And then Hawkeye is just below it, like down here with Falcon and the Winter Soldier for me. And then this one is where I'm going to get myself in trouble with friend of the channel, Morgan M. Steele. Morgan, I'm so sorry, but we have Moon Knight. And I'm going to put it in C tier. I'm going to put it in C tier because it does start out promising. The problem you see with the Moon Knight show is that it tried to be so big for whatever reason. You see, in the comics, Moon Knight is usually a street level hero. He doesn't go on the big brand adventures with the Avengers. He's down there on the streets interrogating people, finding missing grandmas and stuff like that. So for this show to, kind of devolve into a literal giant kaiju fight in the finale, the finale is really where you lose me on this show. It's such a mess. You have the giant kaiju fight, and then you have the fight. The final fight of the show is literally off screen because they black out, and they introduce the third altar, and this show is another one of those where they talk about a season 2, and they literally set up a season 2 in the show with that third altar, but I don't know if people crave a second season of Moon Knight. I just thought the show was so messy and so big for no reason when it could have just been Daredevil again. Now, I guess you don't want to make Daredevil again because we are literally making a season 4 of Daredevil. But I just thought this show got too caught up in the mystics and making Moon Knight way too magic for what he is in the comics. Okay, so then we've got Miss Marvel. And let's see. For Miss Marvel, I think I'm also unfortunately going to put it Avengers. It's not good. I think I'm going to put it in C tier simply because, kind of similar to Moon Knight, where Oscar Isaac is a highlight in that show, Iman Vellani as Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, is incredibly likable, and she's the best part of this show. I do think it's weird that they changed her powers because they didn't want to give her the stretching abilities, so she has light-based powers now. And at the same time, she's a mutant for whatever reason. This show makes a lot of strange choices. I think Kamala Khan is a very interesting and fun character. I love her in this show. I love her in the Marvels. However, I have a problem with the story. The story of this show is so messy. Again, why do we have to make everything big? Why can't we just have a street level problem? because Miss Marvel could have easily just been she has to stop this gang of bank robbers or something. You know, in Hawkeye is so small. Like, yes, you have Kingpin doing big bad things, but ultimately it comes down to Clint and Hawkeye kind of taking down Maya and her tracksuit mafia and just this little crime organization. And that's what Miss Marvel should have been. But instead, they introduced the Jinn, who are just a nothing villain group. Like, they quite literally just do nothing and then disintegrate and die. And because they disintegrate and die, now the world's gonna explode. And so it's so terrible. The story is so bad in that show. But I love Aman Vellani, and I can't wait to see more of her in hopefully better written projects. Speaking of better written projects, we have She-Hulk, which I think I'm going to put down here in B. I'm going to put it down here in B for now. Maybe it ventures into A. I have only watched through She-Hulk once versus some of these other ones like WandaVision, Loki, Hawkeye, Falcon, Winter Soldier, What If. I have all rewatched. I have not rewatched Moon Knight or Miss Marvel or She-Hulk, but I do remember She-Hulk. She-Hulk is the complicated show where it's a episode of the week show. Jen is a lawyer, and so the show is literally called She-Hulk Attorney at Law. And so it is kind of more of a sitcom where every week she has an interesting client that she has to service. I can see where people are frustrated because it wastes things like the Wrecking Crew and stuff like that, where they're just some gang that jumps Jen in an alley and none of them have their magic or fancy weapons. But it is funny. I think this show would have benefited from more episodes. It does escape the 6-episode curse. It is 9 episodes, I believe, if I remember correctly. I don't think it quite sticks to the finale as much as it wants to. Like, I know they wanted to be meta with it and break the She-Hulk. She-Hulk has the ability to break the fourth wall, just like Deadpool does. And she literally breaks out of her TV show. But I don't quite think it sticks the landing so much. Like, I think it could have been a lot bigger, a lot funnier. Or I think it could have avoided the whole overarching plot kind of subversion altogether. Because the episodes do have the slight overarching plot where they're like, oh, someone's trying to steal Jen's powers. And then in the finale, they're like, no, that's stupid. We're not doing that. And it's kind of like, then why even bother? Like, maybe we should have just made more episodes of the week for the show. Like, the Daredevil episode is probably my favorite. But I also acknowledge my own bias by having Matt Murdock in the show. But overall, I think She-Hulk's really fun. All right. This tier list had I Am Groot on here. Frankly, I'm just gonna rapid fire, like, toss these in here. Like, I don't know, they're cute. That's all I can say. They're literally 6-minute shorts of just baby Groot messing around with things. Watch them if you want, but nothing crazy. Nothing that's gonna change your life. And then we have Werewolf by Night. And I didn't put both versions because it is the same 50-minute special, but there is a black and white and an in-color version. Watch the black and white version if you haven't already. But this is super cool. They did this one for Halloween. This is a Marvel Studios special presentation. We've only done 2 of those somehow in the last how many years. But basically, the special presentations exist where we have a creative that has an idea, but it's not big enough for a movie or TV show. So they get a little 50, 45-minute special. So for here, we have Werewolf by Night. And it's in black and white, and it's supposed to look like the older, Universal monster movies. And I think it really captures that. Like, it really is creepy and eerie, but also funny. Like, it's kind of camp, and it's supposed to be. So, frankly, this was the first special presentation, and then we got another one, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, and I might put this one up in S. I'll put it down here in A. But this one is really fun too. This is Mantis and Drax trying to cheer up Peter for Christmas because he's the Scrooge of the group. And it's really cute, really wholesome. Like, do either of these need to exist if you're going to look at it like that? No, but they are actually really fun and heartwarming stories. Both of them are heartwarming in their own way. Like Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special is the sweet, cute show. Well, Werewolf by Night is a good, like, Halloween, sit down for 55 minutes and let's watch this werewolf go to town on these people. Alright, so now that I've been talking about all the good stuff, let's get into the shit. Like, Secret Invasion is garbage. Straight up. This is what people who hate comic book movies think comic book movies and TV shows are. Phil with 1L and I have a whole rant over on his channel. Go check out that video for our more in-depth thoughts of this show. But this is just a nothing show. Like, you take Secret Invasion, one of the biggest comic book storylines out there, and it's just a Nick Fury show. And even then, it can't even be the Nick Fury fighting Skrulls show because it's trying to do 7 other things. And in doing so, it does nothing. This show is horrible. The worst finale, the worst, right? Like, this is the worst show. This feels like we agreed to make this show and then we couldn't figure out how to write it, but we made it anyways. This show is so bad. Like, I could never tell another person to ever watch Secret Invasion. I could see where I would tell you, if you're really interested, check out Moon Knight and Miss Marvel. But never watch Secret Invasion. It truly means nothing. They pretended like, oh, it's going to set up the Marvels, and nothing happens. It's so inconsequential while being so consequential. Like, the show literally ends with like, oh, it's the war against the Skrulls, and humanity hates Skrulls now, and we're going to kill them all. And it's like, no, we're not. Like, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. Because nobody watched this show. Because it's shit. It's garbage. Amelia Clark is Marvel Jesus. Again, go watch Phil and I's video up there. And then we have I Am Groot Season 2. I'm gonna be truthful. I didn't actually watch I Am Groot Season 2. I only watched the first one. So I'm not gonna put it on the tier list. But then we have Loki Season 2. And I'm gonna get myself in trouble. But I think Loki Season 2 is really bad. I'm sorry. Like, talk about spinning your tires. This show does nothing. It does absolutely nothing in its second season. Every mystery season 1 set up of like, oh, where did Sylvie come from? Or why was Sylvie pruned? Or who is this person? And oh, where did that TVA thing come from? It was deleted from the archives. And oh, what about Kat? And this second season goes, none of it matters. Or we just forgot. And we never answer any of your questions because the timeline is falling apart. So we're going to spend 5 episodes trying to fix the timeline and then have a really good finale. But that finale does not save Season 2. I think Season 2 of Loki is really bad. But I feel bad putting it, like, I don't think, because, like, production-wise, it is still really good. So I almost feel like it has to go in C because it's still so well produced, even if the story is garbage. So I'm going to put it up in C only because, again, I don't think it reaches Secret Invasion level of bad. Like, Secret Invasion looks like shit, is written like shit, is like everything is bad about Secret Invasion. Versus Loki Season 2, you're at least like, okay, all the actors are giving it their all. The production design looks really good. The CGI looks really good. Like, they took their time with it. The story is just bad. And then we have What If Season 2, and frankly, I'd probably just put it in B tier with the other What If, because I think this season had some interesting ideas, but didn't go too crazy with it. I did like the way they released this. where they dropped the one episode a day for 9 days in a row. Granted, I do think the what ifs in season 2 are more interesting than the what ifs in season 1, because I think they do venture away. Like how I said, season 1 is so trapped in being part of the MCU that I think season 2 does venture off into more of the what if, with episodes like the one where what if Peter Quill was evil, and so then the Avengers assembled back in like the 80s/90s, and it's all the older Avengers like T'Chaka and Goliath instead of, like Ant-Man and T'Challa. Or I think Kahori is a real interesting original character. The 1602, what if the Avengers assembled in 1602, was a fun one. But again, they have to tie it all together for whatever odd reason. So yeah, a mixed bag that probably just falls right in the middle. And then we have Echo, and Echo's a hard one. Because if I'm going to be truthful, Echo escapes the 6-episode curse by only having 5 episodes. And I'm going to be truthful with you. I liked the first 2 episodes of the show. I thought it was interesting, where Maya, this kind of adopted daughter of Kingpin, is escaping and trying to make a name for herself now that he's supposedly gone. And then it's revealed that he's actually alive and back, and then how she has to grapple with that. And that's where the show ultimately falls apart. Like, the way they executed this show was so messy. And I get where they were maybe trying to be respectful of the native origins of the character. However, I just think it falls apart in the end. Like, in the comics, the character of Echo, as the name implies, is she can echo like your fighting style and combat you that way. And instead here they have it like, oh, she can echo through time and use the abilities of her ancestors. And it's just kind of like, what? Why? And then in the finale, I truly don't understand what she did to Kingpin in the finale. Like, she does her little mind read thing on Kingpin to, like, delete his trauma or whatever. And he literally wakes up and is like, what did you do? All mad. And it is like, no, seriously. What did she do? And they don't explain it at all. And we know that Kingpin is going to still be evil in the Daredevil show. So what was the point? But, yeah. So Echo was a fun concept, but ultimately falls apart by the end, as it seems a lot of Disney Plus shows do. And finally, last but definitely not least, that brings us to Agatha All Along. And I think it will be no surprise if you're familiar with this channel that Agatha All Along goes in the S tier. Agatha All Along is so well crafted in every possible way. The story is great. The actors are great. The production design is great. This is supposedly like the cheapest MCU show, but it does not feel like it. Like, yes, there are some bad green screen moments occasionally, but you can ignore them because you're enjoying what's happening. You're enjoying the characters. The story is so well written. It is a mystery show as the group embarks down the witch's road and kind of uncovers themselves and maybe a greater story along the way. It is a spiritual successor to WandaVision. Like, it truly is a sequel to WandaVision that a lot of people said, oh, why do we need a Agatha show? And this show clearly proved it, right? Like, this is what happens when you let passionate creators make passionate projects. Like, did this Agatha show have to exist? No, but Jack Schaefer had a great idea, and she executed it so well that it actually works and comes off as a compelling story in the MCU. And that's why it goes up in S tier. So now, if we move these around, let's start down in D and work our way up. So if I'm looking at D tier, I'm going to put Secret Invasion under Echo. Like, Secret Invasion is truly the worst thing you could watch from the MCU. This is what people who hate Marvel slash superhero movies and TV shows think superhero and TV movies and TV shows are. And then Echo just falls flat by the end and kind of doesn't make sense. And then if we look at C tier, let's see. Like, I want to say Loki is probably more well written than either of these, but like I said, that finale is really the only good episode of the season. The rest of the season just feels like you're wasting time. And maybe that's the point, because like I said, reality's collapsing and we have to figure out a way. And so every episode is we do this and it doesn't work, and we do that and it doesn't work. We set up more mysteries that will never be answered. And so just, it feels like such a waste of time. And it feels like well, we know that a lot of the creative team from Loki season 1 did not return for season 2, and it shows. It shows. These two I could go either way. Like, I think I myself prefer Miss Marvel just because Aman Vellani, but I think Moon Knight is more well written than Miss Marvel is. And then if we're looking at the B tier, I'm thinking I'm putting She-Hulk up at the top. What If season 2 right here. I'm thinking B tier looks something like this. She-Hulk is the best of this bunch, followed by What If season 2, What If season 1, and again, I Am Groot is just a bunch of 6-minute shorts. Frankly, I shouldn't even have put it on the list. I could still very well take it off, but I'm not going to. A tier here, I kind of almost have it already organized in my preference. Like, maybe these two could switch any day, basically by what mood you're in for the holiday, you know? Maybe even something like that. Maybe I just am really in the Christmas spirit, because now that I'm looking at both Hawkeye and the Guardians Holiday Special being up here at the top of my A tier, maybe I am just really in the holiday spirit right now. And then S tier, the only thing I would probably move is Loki. I still think WandaVision is maybe the best we have. I don't know. Agatha, though. See, the thing is that Agatha totally sticks like the entire show, while WandaVision sticks like 95% of the show and then fumbles that ending because of COVID. So I'm really torn on how to feel about these two shows, because I love WandaVision, and maybe it will always have that bias of being the first one. But these three are truly what you should seek out if you're looking for something to watch on Disney+. So yeah, what a mixed bag. This is what the MCU so far looks like on Disney+. All that being said, I'm super excited for the 2025 projects. Like, we have What If Season 3 coming up, which this is the final season. And if they don't do the What If the Other Half Was Snapped, what was the point? But then we have the Spider-Man show, which they've been back and forth on. It was originally supposed to be set in the MCU, but I think they're now just making it its own thing, hopefully. I truly hope Daredevil's good, because if you don't know, they literally shot that show. It was so garbage that they threw it away, rewrote it, and are shooting it again. And so I hope that this second attempt at Daredevil Born Again, because basically originally Born Again was going to be a total reboot, and then everybody hated it. So now it is basically Daredevil season 4. So I'm really excited for it. It has to be good, right? And then we have Ironheart, which feels like that has been stuck in production hell forever. Like, that is a 6-episode event show. And with Ironheart, she debuted in Wakanda Forever, and we still haven't seen the follow-up show to that after how many years. So I'll be excited to see that story continue. Then we have Eyes of Wakanda. This is the animated 4-episode anthology about different characters in Wakanda. Real excited for that one.
Marvel Zombies looks like it could be promising, question mark. The two big ones I'm excited for. Only the one is coming out next year. But we have Wonder Man and Vision Quest. I say I'm excited about these because they are very closely tied to these two shows here. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that because Vision Quest is clearly tied into WandaVision as another sequel series. Vision Quest was supposed to be done by Jack Schaefer, the director, writer of Agatha All Along, and executive producer of WandaVision. However, she stepped down from Vision Quest to focus full time on Agatha All Along, so I'll be curious to see how that show goes without her. And then Wonder Man, I say it's in this corner because Wonder Man is most often like in an on again, off again romance with Wanda, so I just assumed they would do that since White Vision is out there and doesn't remember anything, but we'll have to see. But this is the MCU so far on Disney Plus. Let me know in the comments below what you think of all these shows, and let me know what your own ranking is in the comments down below. If you liked what I saw here and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know when the next one's coming. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.